hopefully, this is going to be a fun night for all of us. We're going to get some of y'all involved as well. I know I'm saying y'all a lot, but just forgive it. But like how we start every episode, I'd like to welcome you guys back to the Cousin
Connection Podcast.
And we're going to take our seats. Okay, let's get comfortable. And like any other podcast, or like some of our podcasts, we like to bring guests and showcase some of our local towns, but also towns within our own community. Hopefully y'all can see me, by the way, so I just want to make sure. And we want to start off the show with someone I've been meaning to have for a long time on the show. And this is actually my actual cousin. Speaking of cousin connection. But she's a great talent. She's a spoken word artist, a musician, just an artist in general. She's been making waves in the city for years, and I think it's appropriate that we finally have her in the live version of our podcast, and that is Timaj Garad.
Make some noise!
I like the little entrance song. That's nice. Hi, guys.
Hi!
Thanks for having me.
Of course. By the way, just to let you guys know, we are recording this for YouTube, so...
Yeah, it's still a podcast, so we got to make sure we got this recorded for anybody who's not here.
So we've talked about having you on for so long, and there's so much to talk about, but we want to start off with a little bio, tell the audience about yourself, how you got into the spoken word space. You have an album out, you have another single, right?
Two, almost two, one on the way.
Okay, let's start with your origin. So that was more spoken word, right?
Yeah, so I started out doing spoken word. I've been performing for about 15 years now. And I started off as a spoken word artist. The way I got into spoken word was almost like an accident, because it wasn't really something I ever planned on doing. I just kind of fell into writing. I fell into performing. It was high school, and we had an assignment due, and they were like, hey, perform a story, or tell a story in a unique, interesting way. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna rap, because I was a big hip hop head. I loved hip hop, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna rap. And so I went up and rapped, and there were these people in my class that were like, hey, that was some great spoken word. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was rapping. So I was part offended and a part intrigued, because I hadn't heard about spoken word before. It wasn't really in the mainstream yet. And then eventually I was like, okay, what is this spoken word? I got really curious about it. I stumbled upon, does anyone remember Def Poetry Jam? Hosted by Most Def. So I stumbled upon that, binge watched that, and I just thought, you know what, I can do this. I could probably do, a Suhair Hamad kind of vibe. And so I decided to start performing more regularly. And my first few stages were actually stages that I created. So I think a lot of the times when people start performing, they're like, oh, let me find a venue, let me go to an open mic, but because there wasn't a lot of stages for spoken word artists at the time, I actually had to find my own, make my own spaces. So I would do coffee houses for student clubs that I was a part of, and I was always the headliner, but I'd invite other artists to not seem like an egomaniac. So, but I used that as a way to really hone my craft and to get comfortable performing, develop my style, and eventually I started a poetry slam. So for those of you who don't know, poetry slams are organizations where spoken word artists perform, and it's a competitive space. So you perform, there's usually a winner, you win some money, and then eventually you might go to the Canadian Festival of Spoken Word, CFSW. And so I started a poetry slam called the Kitchener-Waterloo Poetry Slam. I was living in Kitchener-Waterloo at the time, going to university. And that slam organization actually ran for 10 years. I was only there for 2 because I came back here. But it really became my kind of training grounds, especially competitive poetry. Slam poetry kind of forces your pen a little bit. It forces you to get creative because you're competing with other people. And so every week it was a challenge to write, a 3-minute poem that was better than the next person's poem, but still authentic and still grounded in your voice and your story. and still authentic, that could move the audience, because the audience are the judges in a slam poetry competition. And so that was really like the beginning, was the stages that I made for myself. Eventually I came back to Toronto and I started getting booked for gigs. I actually don't know how it happened.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, did you post?
No, not really. I'm not great at social media. I'm still not great at social media. I think it was really just word of mouth, you know?
That's
there's a
cool.
really strong like community here, like for spoken word artists, and so it was just word of mouth. People started booking me, and once you get booked for something, people in the audience were like, hey, can you come to my whatever it is? So I just kind of started that way.
My question is, so like a lot of us here are first generation immigrants, or at least our parents they came here, we're first generation born here. How do you like address this, or how do you even like bring this up to your parents? Be like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this as like my thing, as my gig. Especially, you know, when they're saying, you know, lawyer, doctor, engineer kind of.
Yeah, it's funny because on that note, doctor, I was in a health science program. So I was on track to be a doctor, and I dropped out because I really didn't see myself in medicine. Like I did co-op, so I worked for Health Canada, I volunteered at hospitals, and I was like, you know, even during, like, I was, like, working at Health Canada writing poems in my cubicle. You know what I mean?
So multitasker, we love to see it.
Multitasker, but also, like, that was a sign to me that, like, I really valued my creative energy more. And so I kind of acknowledged that in like my second semester of my third year, which was a little late, but I'm like, you know what? I think I want to drop out of this and switch into something else. So I switched my major and switched into humanities. And my parents, I mean, they didn't really know until I started being like, getting checks basically. My mom's like, oh, this check is being mailed to you from this place, and why are you getting all these checks? You know what I mean? And so it was really like, they didn't know I was taking it seriously until I started getting paid, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this. But
I feel like
always...
that's how all of our parents feel.
Yeah, like money starts rolling.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay. I mean, my dad, though, is also creative. I don't know if you know this. Yeah, you probably do. Like, he's also a poet. He also, like, writes music, and so it's not what he does for a living, but it's, like, something that he does. And so, although I didn't really necessarily grow up in a musical household or, like, a creative household, like, and my dad's also a visual artist, like, he encouraged me to not necessarily pursue it as a career, but to explore it, you know.
Which is rare, especially in our community.
Yeah. So he was like, you know, he would joke about like being my band manager and like getting a band together. He'd be like, oh, I know the Sudani guy, he plays guitar. Maybe I was like, okay, I got this. Thank you for the vote of confidence. But, you know, so they weren't as discouraging as people would imagine. But I do think that especially my mom, she had a hard time coming around to the music part of it.
I was just going to ask you, like, the transition between spoken word to then doing music.
Yeah. So the transition actually started a lot more recently. I started making my first record in 2017, which wasn't that long ago. And,
you know, time is...
I guess it is, yeah. You know what? I don't think about the pandemic years. Like, those years are just a blur. Like, that doesn't count. So, yeah, that was the first record I made. It was an EP, and it never saw the light of day, but I recorded a whole project, and I just kind of put it, you know, on the shelf. But it was, like, my first time really, like, experimenting with music, and at first I actually got into it thinking, oh, I'm going to, like, put my spoken word on... like Spotify or on a track, and it was supposed to be like an audio like of my spoken word, and then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll sing a little, maybe I'll like hire a producer, produce a beat, and then the project just became more and more musical. So I just realized I ended up creating an EP, like a music project.
But I feel like you kept a lot of that like spoken word energy in it, because it pretty much is like, you know, a chorus, and then it would be like spoken word, at least from what I've heard up until now. But your newer work seems to be a little bit more of what you normally hear in a track, like be more melodies.
So my newer work is a lot more musical, and I'm like kind of moving in that more in that direction now. So my second project, which I actually did end up releasing, is an EP called Blooming at the Mouth, and that's where I started like using my voice more, like experimenting with different melodies and harmonies, and like I write all of my music, but I worked with an incredible producer named Taboo who like really like I feel like nurtured my musicality in a lot of ways, and like kind of understood what I was going for. So the record is not like it's kind of like upbeat, it's soulful, but it's also like really experimenting with different sounds, with dance, with like, you know, electronics, with jazz, with like hip hop and R&B. So I have like my musical influences are really varied. So like it's only right that I felt like my sound was also
hear a little
weird.
bit of like Kendrick.
Yeah.
New one, I'm just saying.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I do love Kendrick.
But I did notice that your Blooming at the Mouth, the EP, is like, I feel like you were speaking to almost like an audience that we have right now, especially the women, especially Black Gold, you know, which is almost exactly at Black women specifically. But what was the inspiration like of gearing a lot of your spoken word towards, I guess, people that look like you?
Yeah, so I write music for primarily, like, honestly, about my lived experience. And this album in particular, Blooming at the Mouth, is really like kind of a uplifting silences, and silences in particular that are within me. So the things that I feel like, oh, you know, we never got to talk about this. Like, Black Gold is about Black Muslim women. That. You know, it's like we never get to really just like talk about our experiences, or we never hear and see ourselves represented in music or in film or any kind of media in a really meaningful way by people that look like us. And so like I really started writing that record in particular for myself and for my younger self. It was almost like therapy for like...
It felt like that watching the music video. I was like, I love this.
Yeah, the music video too. I was like, you know what? All those people in the music video are my friends.
Yeah.
Other Black Muslim girls, and we like there's a scene in the video where we're jumping. It was supposed to be double Dutch, but we couldn't find a second skipping rope, and you know, whatever. But you know, we're like jumping rope and like in the park, and you know, I have a friend of mine that's like rollerblading, and like it's just supposed to capture the joy of girlhood and
Black girl joy.
Black girl joy, exactly. And like kind of the freedom of how freely you express yourself as a child, and then juxtaposing that with how constrained you know society expects you to be, you know, when you look like us. And so I intentionally created the visuals to be this really free kind of expression of Black Muslim woman being joyful, even though the record also talks about the other side of that, like the kind of erasure that we experience, the anti-Black Islamophobic racism that we experience. But I really wanted to create like an anthem for Black Muslim women to be able to kind of celebrate themselves and their community. So a lot of my work comes from that place of wanting to tell stories that are true and authentic to my experience, but also kind of addressing subject matter that I feel we don't really talk about enough.
And you have another album, an EP or an album coming out?
It's an EP. Okay. Albums are daunting. I like inshallah I'll create an album at some point. But I like EPs because they kind of give you a moment to like tell a story in a succinct way, 4 to 6 tracks, and then you can kind of wrap it up in like, you know, like a smaller package or smaller box. I think an album is like life work. Like an album would probably take me like 6 years, but I like singles and EPs for now. But
did the subject matter change?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you give us like a sneak peek? Like,
honestly,
what's it about? What can we expect?
Literally, I feel like I'm being asked for my homework. I've written one track, and so far it's about burnout. Okay. But that might change.
Real?
Yeah, because people might not know this about me, but I'm a working artist, but I also work in the arts and culture sector as an arts funder, and that's like a full-time gig as well.
I was gonna ask you, like, how are you balancing a day job while also being an artist. It's like you're Hannah Montana or something.
Yeah, literally, it's so hard. I'm not even gonna front. Like, it is so hard. Luckily, my day job also feeds into, the work that I do as an artist. It's not like a completely different world, because my day job, I'm supporting artists. So, I run a funding program for other Black artists called the Black Arts Program, and I created and led the development of the program and now manage it. And so, I love being able to build capacity for other artists, but sometimes, I hope my bosses don't ever find this, but sometimes I do feel like it's at the expense of my own creative energy. And so I found ways of tapping into that energy in an intentional way, but you have to get really creative, and so that you're not burnt out. And I have experienced burnout because of the balancing act. And so, but a lot of artists are doing that. That's the reality of being an artist, unless you are Drake or Beyonce or someone that is able to really get to a certain level of not just notoriety but also fame. And even for those people, it's tight and it's difficult. It's really challenging to be an artist and to do it full time. There are people doing it, and I've done it for a bit as well. But I'm just I like stability.
Yeah. So you're not going to leave the day job anytime soon.
No, I think there's a part of me that is so practical and just so grounded and wanting to do this in a way that is where I'm still taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And the people that I need to take care of, you know what I mean? So, and I do love my day job too.
That's good. That's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
I wake up excited to do it every day. It sometimes inspires me. I see how hard artists are working. I'm listening to music by other artists, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good, you know what I mean? So it sometimes does also feed into my creative energy, but it's just the time piece. You have to find different ways of carving out space. And for now, what I'm realizing is it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It means it's going to happen in a very in a slower, more gradual way for me. But I'm also blessed to have a lot of flexibility in my job. So if I want to go do a gig in the middle of the day, I can do that. I can flex my time and move around my hours. So that's a real blessing as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And one last question I just had, because I know, this is more timely of what's happened in the past year or so. I know Palestine and everything is going on in that location, in that area. So how much has because I know you're also into activism, and I've seen you coming from shows when we're meeting up and everything. So how much has that changed your focus of your work, or what you choose to speak about in the past year or so?
Yeah, it's changed it completely. It's changed everything. I think it's changed me in very fundamental ways. There's you're sitting with the grief and processing, but also we need to bear witness, and we need to continue to bear witness, and we need to continue to speak, and we need to continue to engage. And for me, what's frustrating is that being an artist and being a professional artist, you see that people expect a level of creative output that is not realistic when we're living in the times that we're living in. I don't actually want to promote myself during a genocide. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't fault others who do it because they need to put food on the table. That's fine. But there's a part of me that's I am going to bring my whole self to this. And I have made music. I released a record. It's called Mautani, which is a traditional Palestinian song. Mautani means homeland. And I released it with my friend Anas, who is a Palestinian singer, and Raz, who's a hip hop artist. And that song to me was I actually wrote it not this November, but last November.
So it's still fresh.
Yeah, so, and, we ended up releasing it for an Islamic relief campaign and then re-releasing it just recently, but I try to, again, write from a place of what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling and what I'm processing in the moment. So I have written a lot about Palestine. I don't share everything though, but I think right now I'm just trying to kind of reconcile what it means to be living in this time and being an artist in this time, and our responsibility, like our actual duty as artists, especially as Muslim artists, to speak up for the oppressed. Like there's a part of our religion, it's a part of our deen, and so I'm witnessing an industry that's moving at a pace that doesn't allow people to be human, and that is moving in a way that is like so commercial, and I feel really like a lot of cognitive dissonance engaging sometimes, to be honest, like as an artist. But I've been doing a lot of work in community. I've been doing a lot of, like, I spoke at the Palestinian Youth Movement. I performed for one of their events recently. So I think what's really, really helped me is like going to protests, going to events, like whether it's a panel event about Palestine, or if I'm speaking as an artist or supporting a Palestinian artist, like that's something that to me like keeps me connected, and I actually feel better when I'm in those spaces because I feel less alone, and I feel like, you know, I want to connect to community that's continuing to keep this top of mind, because I think that I really fear like complacency, and I feel like us being desensitized. And I don't ever want myself to be desensitized or complacent, so I try to challenge myself to stay engaged in like people that are doing this work like better than I am, you know?
Well, thank you again, Timaj, for coming on.
Thank you for joining us, like our first ever live show.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure, if you haven't already, check out Timaj on Instagram at Timaj Garad, basically. Just easy enough. We'll make sure we have it on the front as well. But yeah, if you want to check out her page and check out her work, you can go there.
Look her up on Apple Music, Spotify.
And we'll have her come back up for a game after our next guest. Okay.
Before we have our next guest, though, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you.
I just wanted to say, like, I don't think we actually spoke to the audience and thanked them all for coming
out. Yeah, we get
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to address you guys as well, because I think we just got right into the mode of podcasting. We didn't actually, like, you know, address you guys and thank you guys for actually coming out and, like, you know, paying money and spending your time to come out here and, you know, check this out and support us. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. When it comes to like putting this together, I gotta really just shout out Sarah for being more of the MVP here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Amir.
And of course, also Omar.
And Omar, I don't know where, I can't see anyone.
Yeah, so he's somewhere around here.
Hiding somewhere.
He's allowing us to use the space.
Huge thank you to him. I told him that we were going to shout him out and embarrass him, so he's definitely hiding.
Definitely.
We really appreciate all of his support. A lot of our friends, Adel, Nabat, Iman, my brother and sister-in-law, Ali, like all of you guys, all of our friends that are, you know, have been so supportive, our online community. Thank you guys. This is like amazing. I feel like I'm dissociating, so I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm happy to see all of you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're ready for our second guest. He is not new to the show. You guys may have seen his episode before, but please welcome Adel T from Atlanta. He's representing Loose Merto.
Hey, we love you, Sarah.
Sorry, I wasn't recording halfway.
I had a feeling. I remembered like mid-interview.
More technical difficulties. Okay, I'm used to it. That's how it is. Oh, you're good. Okay, you're good.
I feel like it's gonna be every person gonna have a technical difficulty.
No. You saw. He's another guest. Someone we've actually had on before. We've had you on twice. Now, yes.
No, 3 times. One episode didn't record because technical.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
But you've already introduced our friend. We've probably known this guy for years now, Adel, who also started a podcast called Loose Merto. And last time he was on, you know, it might have been on a little bit of a hiatus, but they came back for actually a very like good cause, or for a good reason, or what would you call it, a noble reason. And that was when they felt like they had something to say about the current, just, I guess, the genocide that was happening in Palestine, but just all the other injustices happening in the world. And they're better than us in all these cases. Make sure to follow them as well. But we'll get into asking questions, but I just want to mention that right away. But yeah, Adel, thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything, though. I don't think I got.
Oh, okay, there you go. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
I was
ahead,
gonna
go
say, like, let's talk about your return back to Loose Merto, the redirection. I guess you can talk about your origin for a lot of people that may not know what Loose Merto is. I always say Loose Merto walked so we could run, but
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
definitely. They started before us, technically.
They did.
Yeah, so I think during the pandemic, had a group of friends that were bored and they had nothing to do, and they were like, we should start a podcast. And
Like
then-
all of us.
Yeah, but on a serious note, I feel like there's a lot of people that had a lot of free time, and we kind of realized what would be the best use of our time. And everybody want to do something meaningful. So we kind of like asked ourselves, like, you know, what can we do that would be the most impactful? And so we thought, like, we come from a community where communication isn't probably the best, right? Like, I feel like we struggle communicating a lot of things. I feel like we have a lot of issues in our community. I feel like any community you come from, I think you kind of can relate to that. So we want to find a way to, like, I guess, bring a change. I don't know, just do something, something that could make the people or make our lives better. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just kind of how I mean. I feel like a lot of podcasts start with similar intent. I think y'all kind of start on the same note too, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like I have something to say.
Yeah, we have something. You know, the South has something to say. So we just really want to address a lot of things in our community. And there's a lot of topics. This is back probably like 4 years ago, and there was. I guess relationships were the biggest topics, like trying to find somebody, right? And those are the it topics. But it was much more than that, though. A lot more meaningful things than that, right? I think when being like one of the first people to grow up in America, like when your parents come from somewhere else, you kind of are the trial, test and trial era. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we the
especially
first.
older child.
Yeah. So we were the first ones in public school. We were the first ones that really went through the system here. Our parents didn't understand a lot of things. So we just kind of saw a different world that they did, and they some things that didn't understand. And there's some things that I wish that we had growing up that nobody kind of taught us or showed us because they didn't know. So after a while, when you see generation after generation, young kids growing up, and then you just see like a cycle and a trend, and you're just like, you see yourself in them. You see certain things that you noticed, and you're just like, man, I wish I had somebody to tell me certain things or like to teach me certain things. And then obviously that just led to just like something, a project that a group of our friends started, and it was cool, man. Like, you know what I mean? It was something that I really enjoyed doing, to be honest.
And what's the origin of the name?
Merto.
So the name being Loose Merto. We know what it is.
Yeah, how do you describe the Merto? It's that thing that you wrap around and what's that?
I feel like the Ethiopian but also Somali community has some like.
Yeah, you know what our dads wear when they're at the house and they just got that cloth that they wrap around their.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's different languages, but so we called it Loose Merto because it kind of represented that, like, we didn't know our culture, we didn't know how to tie it properly, we didn't know our traditions. So because of that, our Merto was always loose because we didn't know how to fix it properly.
It went deeper than I thought, for real.
Yeah. So I mean,
that was deeper than I thought. I thought it was just like a random. Like,
I thought it was like when you're doing barcha, which is like just hanging out with your friends. And you lying down, it gets a little bit loose.
Yeah, it just means tighten up and just kind of like, just know who you are, know where you came from, know just, what you represent and what you stand for, and just, what made you, what shaped you, and, who you are. I mean, especially in a land where people don't really know your identity or don't, they're trying to turn you into something else. You know what I mean? You got to tighten up, man, and just, I think one of my favorite quotes is like, everything I do for the village. You know what I mean? So like everything I do for the people that raised me, the people that I represent. And so I just feel like this is something that we want to do for the people that that brought us up.
And if we're following the timeline of Loose Merto, so then there was a little bit of a break there.
Yeah. So like I said, we did in the pandemic, and then after the pandemic cleared up, everybody started going back to work, and people got busy. So we thought that was the end of that, right? It was just a nice little fun project. It wasn't nothing big. We just had fun with it, man. We just talked about things that were important to us. We had some lives. We did some stuff. And it was cool. A lot of emotion. And after everybody got busy, we kind of just put it away. Then the issue happened, obviously in Palestine and Gaza. We've been gone for a couple of years at that point, but I just remember hearing people saying that, look, man, especially the people that's on the ground in Palestine, are saying, man, somebody speak up for us. You know what I mean? Like, yo, somebody tell our story, somebody say something. I mean, I'm not gonna say we have numbers, we don't have no big crowd, no big following, but just because I received that message, I said, we got something, we got a platform. I want to go back to speaking about it, because I really wasn't happy. Like, the level of understanding in my community, I feel like people still don't know what's going on, right? You know what I mean? And even though it's happening right in front of our eyes, there's a lot of people around me, I'm just like, they're very unaware of the situation. And I don't know what more they could do to educate. I mean, so I take it upon myself and people just to like kind of hear the people on the ground through TikTok lives. Like, people will come on literally in Gaza and tell their story, what happened each day, what they're experiencing, their situations, and how bad the conditions were. And then they were and I'm just going back home in America, and like everybody's just living like nothing's happening, bro. Like, you know, people feel bad, but like they still continue their lives. And for me, my life kind of didn't continue, bro. I was so connected to it that I was listening to it like almost every day. And I just wanted to learn, educate myself, and I want to educate my community. And I just wasn't happy with the response of my community. I felt like they didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? So we just had a whole bunch of series and try to elevate Palestinian voices and try to tell people like, yo, this is something, like, there's things going on in the world, man. Like, you gotta know, like, you know what I mean? So.
And like, in addition to this redirection of the podcast, I feel like you started to dabble back into another passion of yours.
Yeah.
So similar to.
Timaj inspired me. Let me say that. Let me get out of the way right now, man. Timaj inspired. Black Gold is actually one of my favorite things I've ever heard before. Like, that's before I ever met her before, but that was actually when I saw somebody who looked like me and spoke about things, even though I wasn't a black Muslim girl that, you know, she left us out. I feel like, yo, it's cool to be a representation of who you are, you know what I mean? So that was, to me, I never said that to you, but that was actually really inspiring. So I was like, yo, we can show the world who we are, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I started getting right into, yeah. And it's funny because Deaf Comedy Jam, like Deaf Poetry, was actually something I really started watching a lot of too, that got me into it. I was gonna ask her like, who did she watch? Because those are actually my favorite kind of like videos too, you know what I mean?
And we're speaking about your spoken word, I guess, love or career. Would you say it's like you make it into a career soon?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would love to, yeah. It's a passion. I'll just call it a passion, to be honest.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Officially, unofficially?
Just, unofficially.
Yeah, unofficially. Before
you even put anything out, has this always been a thing that you've been doing?
Yeah, I always write. I just never perform. I'm not a performer. I just always write.
Well, today
you are.
I'm just saying.
yeah. I mean, so it's gonna be.
We're ready to give you the stage.
Yeah. We can step off if you want.
Yeah.
Y'all want to hear some spoken word?
Yeah.
Let's.
But I told y'all, like, I'm not a performer though. Like, I just want to make that disclaimer though. Like,
listen.
I'm about to read it like a 2-year-old. Man.
That's okay. Listen, this is like, imagine you guys are all at your cousin's house. We want you guys to feel comfortable.
Exactly.
This
is a safe zone. Exactly. We're gonna get off the stage. We're gonna give the stage to you.
You do whatever you want. You want to stand. You want to sit.
Unless you're comfortable with us being here with you.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with y'all.
Okay, we'll stay.
Everybody close the ears real quick. They say genocide isn't the intent. I seen people back and forth trying to argue. I see people still on the fence. But I'm at the point, I'm like, why argue? Who are you? I mean, do you wake up to people who trying to bomb you? Who try to eliminate your people? Who will stop at nothing just to harm you? Who cut off the water supply? Who left a child to watch their father die? I mean, I don't mean to alarm you, but who are you? To still be on the fence. They're saying they have a right to defense. Well, technically it ain't defense when people are being ethnically cleansed in an area that's especially dense, when this entity pretends that the enemy prevents the aid from entering the trench as the line extends. The dying's intense. They're dying intense while they're crying it ends and reminding it spends millions and billions to kill civilians. The victim blame to protect the villains. What's going on is insane. It's sheer nuts. It's clear what's happening, but the world turned a blind eye. A tear busts. It's been a year plus, but it seems like they don't hear us. But can we all at least be in agreement? This is egregious, and you see what greed does? We send money to make weapons, but never to feed us, but they'll never defeat us. I understand the struggle ever since I was a fetus, because it's in our DNA. I mean, my parents fled once to come to America. Now America's acting like they don't need us. It's hard to believe it's still America, because I don't trust the people that lead us. Where's your allegiance? I don't know if we're freeing Palestine or if Palestine is freeing us. Man, it's alarming. It's all starting to unravel. They bombing Palestine while Sudan is starving. The UAE have a hand in harming the women and children. It's daunting. The images are haunting. The military operations they're launching, the money laundering. I mean, how much is this conflict really costing? It's exhausting. The soldiers are marching with the weapons they're flaunting, taking everything belonging to the civilians that just want to return home. This whole thing got me stressed, like I gotta pay a mortgage. I just seen more deaths as close guests. They open the bodies, but they ain't even go to the morgue yet. So don't ask me why I'm posting. You don't have a right to be bored yet. Because they just killed the pregnant women. The baby wasn't even born yet. The sheer weight of trying to uphold justice in an immoral world left us in this weird state. I'm yelling in my peer space, it's a genocide, it's a clear case. We've been saying it for a year straight. The images have me in a scared state. I mean, the baby's dying in a scared state in the hands of the people who have pure hate. And it's like they haven't bled enough. They've been killing them for a year. Ain't they dead enough? No matter how much you oppress them, they're still getting up. And I'll never stop talking because I haven't said enough. I'm just a guy who got online and found out what a mic would cost him, just to give him a microcosm of the life of Gazans, a life that's forgotten, a life that feels like it's at the bottom, and the dark skies in Gaza feel like the nights in Gotham. The whole world denies the problem. I know God got them, but it's just like Adam, you can't stop the leaves from coming. I mean, what's the thought process? We already know that they bought the Congress, but I'm just trying to raise the BIPOC community, the black conscious, because the Palestinians shot a home movie, made a killing, but never got to the box office. Now lost confidence in humanity. It's insanity. It's calamity, according to Amnesty International, and irrational. I mean, they see them as less than animals. They're trying to kill the rest of them, and they see them as other than human. I'm in utter confusion. People don't see Palestine dying a slow death. That's why we protest. There's no rest, and there's a complete stop in the toll deaths. There's literally another world war on our doorsteps. It's so close. It's like 4 steps away. It's Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, then Iran, to a bigger problem. Because this world, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. So ask me what's my New Year's resolution, to be part of the revolution, because I am a revolutionary. And this time it will be televised, because we're tired of watching tell their lies. I promise you one thing, Palestine will be free, God willing. It's just an odd feeling when the world's silent, when they bomb children, because it's not our children. I'm not willing to follow the propaganda the Fox spilling. But they can't believe Israel's all along really been the bad guy, but it's not hidden. Because in the past, they've been lying, denying, but I mean, everyone expects the line, but no one sees it when the fox is killing. So I don't understand how they're killing them so normally, leaving the bodies up normally. They just justify it morally. With that being said, I therefore formally invite you cordially to the first human history televised genocide that's Western backed and U.S. incentivized. They're fighting terror, but I'm the one that's terrified. I'm still paralyzed how they had Ethiopian women sterilized, and I don't listen to government because they're all lies. The death toll is invalidated. We sadly state it's 280,000 plus. They say it's exaggerated. They claim it's fabricated. They say we exaggerated. But how you gonna calculate it when the bodies are literally evaporated? I mean, that's why we take to the streets. We're more than agitated. We're spirits of Palestinians. They're activated. They actually hate it because they've been passionately waiting for this moment. Now the whole world's fascinated with a free Palestine and in this fascist nation. Best believe that's something I advocated for. Thank you very much. That's actually like one of the first times I actually performed in front of people, man.
Gosh, oh, wow, that was good, man.
Wow.
And that was your first time performing that?
One of my first times. Well, yeah, I don't really perform. But like, I just want to say one thing though. Like, I never want to center myself around this, like Timaj was saying earlier. The reason I even write or even speak about Palestine is not because it's a trendy topic or something to go. I hear like the testimonies of people that's on the ground, and they're at the point where they're saying like, we gave up, we don't know what to do. Like, we're asking people, I think we might have better results asking the animals for help, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's time for us to kind of like really tap in and see like, find the humanity in us and try to realize that we have a power to do things. We have a power to bring change and to actually make a meaningful impact. You know what I mean? Just the fact that people talk about it as much as they do is a miracle, because if you know anything like about Palestine before this whole thing happened, it was almost, you can never bring it up. You know what I mean? It was always like washed away. But there's a movement that's happening right now. It's a special time and moment, right? So I feel like I just want to inspire people to like know that you can bring change and you can do something about it. And that's what brought me back to actually podcasting. So thank y'all for having me, and thank y'all for listening. And,
Thank you so much, Adel.
We love you, Sarah.
And if you guys want to hear more of that, you can also follow him. Loose Merto is the page.
What's your personal page? Do you post your work on there, or?
Yeah, Yo Gabi.
Yo Gabi, we'll post like a story or something where we post the episode on there. But Loose Merto, just remember that. It's also on the front there. But again, Adel, thank you for coming up and sharing that with us. I know that was hard. It was the first time doing that, but it honestly seemed like you were a natural.
Exactly.
So I feel like you're really cut out for this, man. So don't worry about that. So actually, one thing I wanted to say, forgot to say earlier, is that like, here's a funny kind of story of what happened when we were putting this together. When we actually put out the tickets for the show. Initially, we thought maybe like 50, 60, so we put out the tickets for that. And I think it was a few days after, it said sold out on the page. And we were so not expecting that we thought it was a glitch, where we had to actually go to Omar and be like, can you please double check? I think something's wrong with the website. It's saying that it's sold out. And alhamdulillah, it turned out that it actually was sold out, which we were super surprised by. And it still baffles me that this actually happened. So thank you guys for first doing that for us and giving us that unexpected surprise. Exactly.
I think you guys need to applaud yourselves.
Yeah, applaud yourselves, exactly. And then another, actually, on top of that, is that we released more tickets. I guess we didn't learn the first time. We released more tickets and made it 100. And that one also, when she was like, I'm going to do a little bit of promo for the show, she's like, the page is saying sold out. Must be a glitch again, right?
Yeah, so I was about to post the link, and I was like, oh my God, Amir, it says sold out again. Must be another glitch. Yeah. And then we double checked. It really was sold out.
It wasn't a glitch at all. It was actually a full show.
So thank you guys.
Yeah, again, thank you guys. You can give yourself a round of applause for that as well.
Exactly.
And thank you for taking a chance on us too. This is the first time we're doing something like this. We're not usually the people to be on the front of the stage. We're usually behind the camera. Yeah. And we can kind of edit everything we want or don't want into the podcast. So this is very new to us. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. And inshallah, we'll have more if this goes successfully, and it looks like it is successful. We'll have more of these coming through in the future, and we'll be able to even build bigger and better from here. So, again, thank you for coming, and we'll continue to go on with the show. Do you have anything else to say, Sam?
No, I'll save it for after.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. We're going to continue with the show here, and we're going to introduce our third guest of the day, or for the night. And that's also a new guest, someone we haven't had on the show before, and that is Najma Suldan.
Sorry, our DJ is MIA. We were supposed to have intro music for you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, so for those that don't know what you do, that haven't seen your social media, we want to do a little bit of an intro. We like to do an intro with our guests. Literally have the spotlight on you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, the space that you're in, what inspired you to go on that journey.
Okay. It's a bit layered. I would say I've been working as a therapist thank you. I've been working as a therapist for the last 5 years. A lot of the work that I do is focused on youth and working with adults. So honestly, it started way earlier. So I pursued my path in psychology, and then I continued to pursue it in master's in clinical psychology. But people know me on social media as this creative person who loves books. I also went to film school, so there's also that background. I've been doing a lot of creative work. So before my work as a therapist, I would say creativity was like the biggest drive. Advocacy too, because I grew up in different places in the world. Originally from Somalia, obviously, as you can tell. But I also grew up in the Middle East, raised in Ottawa, then went to Saudi, and then lived there for a while, finished high school, and then pursued university. And I think that's when I kind of had a better understanding of what advocacy meant and kind of transitioning into a whole different world. I dealt with a lot of different things on my own. I had to leave my family behind a little bit, and I had to pursue a lot of different things. But I learned that I had to advocate in a lot of ways. And so a huge part of my passion and why I pursued therapy was first to advocate for other people. So that was something that was very foundational for me. So that's like my journey as a therapist. And then the creativity was like something on the side. It was always a hobby. I think it was something that brought me to my closest self, I guess. And so I always did that on the side. And social media was a great way to connect with community, connect with great people. Like, honestly, it was a great platform for that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And I believe, actually, One thing I didn't tell you is that
Yeah.
when you were doing your book club like 2 years ago,
yeah.
I was actually part of that book club. No, okay, no.
That's crazy. Okay.
Okay, it was kind of a lie. Like, I just took your
Like,
suggestions.
you joined I was like, I remember everyone. Okay.
Yeah. I just took your suggestions and like read a couple of them. I think there was one about a woman who's white passing. I forget the name of the book.
The Vanishing Half, maybe.
Yes, Vanishing
okay.
Half. That one.
Yeah. Okay.
So you actually spurred on a lot of like my reading history, or like what my love for reading.
Okay,
in a way,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's a little connection right there.
I love that. Yeah.
Not a cousin connection, but a different type of connection.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think starting my book club was like a great way to connect to a lot of other people.
Right.
There's so many people that love reading, but I think during COVID it encouraged a lot of people. We were all isolating in our own world, and so I think it was a great opportunity to just make it more accessible. I think that's how I actually started my social media account. I would always share books that I've read. And then kind of joined it with, fashion on the side, But yeah, I think, starting the book club was one of the most amazing things during COVID. Like, it was bringing people together and talking about books, real things, Yeah.
And I was actually, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, I didn't say anything. You're
I was
good.
gonna ask you, like, as a therapist during COVID, like, how do you even like diagnose? How do you help people in something that's so unique in time, like something that it really hasn't happened before, like that, like the psychology that goes into living in the space and not being able to leave and do things? It's kind of hard. How did that change your way of like diagnosing people or working with people?
Like during COVID?
Yeah.
For the most part, I think it made therapy more accessible, because that's when like it encouraged like virtual therapy for a lot of the things that we're doing. I actually got to experience both worlds. So at the time, I was doing also a lot of clinical placements. I worked at a residential youth center, and that was like on the other side of the world. Like, it's disconnected from everybody, but there was this aspect where I had to come in person. And I think when it comes to youth, I think the greatest way to connect with them is actually in person. Virtual, it doesn't work for them. They're like, it's really hard. And so, I think it created more doors. I think it made therapy more accessible. Before, it was like very structured. It was like, you have to come in person. But later on, it was something that made things more accessible for people. So I think it worked. And also, there was a lot of shift around that time. I think people were more open to therapy because of a lot of the political issues that were coming up, not only just on a COVID level, but there was a lot of push, and I think it opened a lot of doors for people not shaming what therapy looks like. And so I've noticed around that time there was a lot of Black people actually seeking therapy, and it was so beautiful. There was just a lot of shift around that time too that encouraged people to seek therapy as well. Yeah.
Would you say, like, every time I meet a therapist, whether it was my own or friends or acquaintances, I think the number one question that I always have is, because it's your job to take on the mental load of someone else, how do you combat like the emotional or mental burnout that you may feel from that?
I think it's knowing your capacity. It's not about quantity. I think a lot of times when you get into this space, I chose this space because I have capacity, and I think that's where it starts from. But I also know my capacity. I will, there's people that see 8 clients a day, and I'm like, nah, I'm sticking to 4. Thank you very much. It's very like being aware. It's also the type of clients you see. If I'm seeing like clients that have, let's say, PTSD or like severe trauma, then in that case, I wouldn't see back to back all of them at once. I think it's so important that we, prioritize ourselves, do the work. I think that it's so easy for us to preach and not a lot of practice, when it comes to the work. So I think it's, how do I stay true to myself as I'm working in this process? Because to a certain degree, your clients will hold you accountable too. And I hold them accountable as well. So it's kind of like they hold up the mirror, I hold up the mirror. So I think in a lot of ways, it's so important to know your capacity, what you're doing, if you're, and also having people that will hold you accountable in the field. I noticed that a lot of people rush into like opening up their business as they, they start the journey as a therapist, and I'm like, no, hold on. It's important to have a clinical director, people that actually know the field very well and learn from like the OGs as well, and let them hold you accountable, because it's not an easy job.
And like kind of going back to COVID for a second, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen a rise of like mental health content, a lot of like TikTok therapists.
Yeah.
How do you feel, like what's your stance on that? Because I know sometimes it almost became like a fad where it was always in your face. But I know that it has inspired a lot of people to like actually go and seek, you know, help or, you know, do their own self-help. Like, do you feel like it's kind of overrated or a little bit watered down?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I'm happy, like, it's creating that accessibility. Like, people are talking about it. It took so many people to even get that far, right?
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to social media and how people use it, I think it's so confusing sometimes for a lot of people. It can be very overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you have so many people that are saying therapists, there's so many different types of therapists. Like, and also being very careful with like, how do you utilize your license as well.
Right.
So I think on one end, professionally, it could, it blurs the line. But it's creating dialogue, which is important.
Yeah.
The other aspect is the increase of self-pathologizing. Like, a lot of us are in a position where we see this, I'm like, yo, I have ADHD, bro. Like, they come up to you, and that's all of us. Like, I think it's more easier to, like, see these things and then, like, okay, I have that before it wasn't even there. And you have to also understand, like, in a lot of spaces, getting assessments, it's expensive. So people go on social media to have a better understanding, and nobody knows your story more than yourself. So I think it makes it more accessible in a lot of ways. So there's like pros
You
and
probably
cons.
had people like that who self-diagnose and come to you and be like, I have this.
They list all the like Najma, I
Tell me how
have
to deal
this,
with it.
and I'm like, okay, or maybe.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of people that come into therapy. But at least it creates that understanding, like, I think I have this, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm not here to diagnose yet, or I'm not even in a position. I think it's also important to recognize that there's certain positions of, like, doing assessments in different ways, and you're here first. Let's talk about that. Like, what's up? Like, let's do an intake first. Let's do, like, the first couple of steps. Yeah, so.
Exactly.
Is there ever a case where a person, because every time I think of therapy, I think like there's multiple sessions, you're like going through hours and hours of talking, but have you ever had a case where like the person only needed one session to kind of figure out whatever it was? It's like, I don't know, I'm having this fight with this person, can you just talk me through it? Give me a drop-down list of what to do.
You know, Amir, like, honestly, it's majority of the clients. They're like, yo, I'm just here to fix the problem. What's my problem?
Yeah.
Can we get to the solution? And I think that's what most people think therapy is. It's kind of like this fixed aspect, but you'd be surprised as people are sharing their story, there's like an underlying belief. And I think that's what therapy is about. It's about literally the progress more so than like the outcome. It's more so like sitting with the discomfort most, like rather than just like choosing to kind of tell me like what to do. And another thing is that a lot of therapists are not here to kind of like talk for the most part. They listen, they're very aware and certain, not, I guess, I can't speak for all, but document on the side, I'm like snitches, but no, like honestly, I think it's just being very present, but for the most part, even sitting in silence sometimes, like some clients will show up and they're like, I got nothing to say. I'm like, okay.
So you just sit there in silence?
No, you start digging,
sometimes
right?
like it would lead to like, I think it's all about asking the right question, the right time too. So it would lead to certain things, but I think for the most part, like most people think it's a lot of different things about like solution, and that's the world we live in. Everything is like, get it, like there's an outcome.
Yeah.
And it's medication. There's something, medication, right? Like there's a way of suppressing some of the symptoms, but we're here to talk about what you're suppressing for the most part. Like, what are you dealing with? Like, and then they just get so comfortable. It's also like I would always say therapy is an 80% relationship for the most part. 20% is all the different interventions you're putting into play. But for the most part, it's building relationship, and creating that safety.
Okay. Yeah. I know, like when you and I connected and we were talking about the different themes that we wanted to discuss today, one of them was definitely, I call it seasonal depression. You called it something else, and it was like, oh, I didn't know it was called that.
Yeah, like it's seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Yeah, and we can call it SAD too. Like,
it's crazy because like, I'm not gonna call out my wife here, but I got married this year, and she's coming from a more hot environment. Has a little bit more sun, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but we haven't had sun in like a week. So when you don't get hit by real sun rays, that does something to you. So
like what are
trying to give her because we kind of coped with it for the past 30. I'm not gonna say exactly how many years, but it's hard to kind of introduce someone to that again and tell them what your coping mechanisms are.
No, I think the first thing is most people don't even know what are the symptoms of depression for the most part.
Right.
I think it's so easy to say you have winter blues versus saying I have depression. It's like a comfort, right? But winter blues is so entirely different than actually having seasonal affective disorder. There's a lot to do with it. It's a disorder. There's a lot of symptoms like feeling emptiness, and it's prolonged. It's feeling depressed. It's really impairing your day-to-day functioning. So for the most part, you'll notice I'm feeling tired out of nowhere. Where is this coming from? There's no specific trigger. All you know is it started around fall, and it's probably going to end around springtime. So for the most part, a lot of just I think it's first recognizing that it is a form of depression. And I think that if we can talk about it a little bit more as a form of depression, then it wouldn't be just called something you can dismiss like winter blues.
Right.
Winter blues is mostly just more based on a specific event calendar, whereas seasonal affective disorder, it's kind of shorter days. Most importantly, no exposure to sun. And so your routine is changing. This is impacting your biological clock, which is something that we're so used to. You wake up in the morning, there's a certain rhythm, but this form of depression kind of plays with your brain chemistry a little bit. So it does a little, some stuff in the brain. Yeah.
And I kind of have a bit of a controversial take.
Oh no.
Okay.
I'm gonna run back.
No. So it comes I tell a lot of people. Okay, I'm not a therapist myself, but I feel a lot of the things can kind of be broken down into a lifestyle in a way. I know there's very serious forms of depression.
Okay. Yeah.
But seasonal depression.
And the disclaimer,
Hear me out. Seasonal depression, I feel it can be counteracted a lot of times.
Yeah.
Depression light. Is that bad? It's called,
It's okay. We listen and we don't judge.
Exactly.
I feel that can be counteracted by just making lifestyle choices, maybe intentionally making sure that you go out for a walk.
I knew you were going to say that.
Okay.
I was waiting.
Maybe doing some physical activity, getting your vitamin D in, whether it be by supplements or through food. Can you get it through food?
I don't know.
Yes?
Maybe.
No?
Yeah, maybe.
Anyone here know? Anyone here a doctor?
Anyone a nutritionist?
But but I feel a lot of it can be kind of quelled through lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you somewhat agree with that. You're the professional here.
No. I agree. Some of them are style changes. However, when people are dealing with depression, it's a little bit more deeper on a different level. And I think I could tell them hey, go for a run. I can't even get out of bed. So it's kind of the first step. But in terms of how to manage it, it's really first recognizing that when it comes to a disorder, you need to actually seek a therapist. Honestly, I'm not here it's kind of a way of saying if you have a form of depression, how are you going to manage it? And the idea is that it might be difficult to do it on your own because there is an underlying belief. And a lot of the times when it comes to mental health and it comes, we talk about the stigma, it's really differentiating the symptom from the character. So a lot of times here, instead of saying, I'm depressed, it hits them I'm lazy, you know what I mean? And so there's this idea that the symptom is almost, it dictates their character a lot of the times, and there's a lot of shame. So this is why whenever when I'm dealing with youth and I'm kind of mediating between parents, it's kind of how do you break it to them to understand in a certain way that it's not actually them being, let's say, lazy, or there's a symptom focus, or it's a character problem, I'm flawed because I have this issue. And so when it comes to seasonal depression, it's kind of understanding, okay, how do we manage the symptoms? So let's say, when I'm working, let's say, with clients that actually are diagnosed with this disorder, we do this thing called light therapy. It kind of mimics, you can find it on Amazon, I'm not gonna lie. You just here's the thing. I've tried it gave me migraines.
Like
but I'm putting it out there still. Like there's
Yeah.
different side effects, but it actually mimics the sun. So
Okay.
like first thing in the morning, you have to do it for like 20 minutes. You have to kind of expose yourself a little bit, not directly because yeah, it didn't go well with me, but I would say like from a distance. So that's kind of like it really does mimic the sun, and it gives you again, it's matching your brain chemistry and your biological clock in a way. Again, movement as you mentioned, and that's like the exercising. Some people never exercise. Let's just be real. They're like, I'm just walking. That's more than enough. So imagine when they have depression, they're not gonna move. So they're not gonna do anything. So it's kind of like, okay, let's expose you to sun. And then let's talk about your lifestyle. How are you even taking care of yourself to begin with?
Yeah.
Some people are like, I like doing this. But the most important thing is, are you isolating yourself? A lot of times with depression, there's this need to withdraw a lot of the times, especially around the season. So even if you don't like engaging with people, having like a community you can go to, it's so important.
Going to live events.
I was gonna say like right now today, some of you you're here, so that's important. It's even though you don't like it or maybe you're uncomfortable with the idea of like meeting people, trust me, in the long run it would actually do more good. And I think community, there's nothing else than engaging, connecting, being curious with other people, and so that kind of puts you back again, puts your mood up in a different way. You might not realize it in the moment, but afterwards it's actually going to do a lot of different things. So, and with vitamin D, here's the thing. I think naturally we have to take it regardless because, as Black people, we're low on it,
We got a filter.
Yeah, a lot of it. So I think that naturally that happens, but there's always a misconception that because you don't have vitamin D that you have seasonal depression. I think it just complements it. I think it's important to just take your vitamin D.
Is that why white people like being outside? So in the
For real.
winter.
Yeah.
I think they have other reasons too.
Oh yeah, I used to. But yeah, those are some pretty good options or good
Yeah.
the solutions.
Solutions.
To
There we
seasonal
go.
depression.
Solutions. Yeah. To manage it. Yeah.
A sun lamp. I've never saw a sun lamp in person.
I know.
Is it like?
Yeah, me neither.
It actually is pretty bright, like for the most part. Like there's a lot of like it's used in different ways, but for the most part, that's one of the things that's recommended for a lot of people who actually have the disorder, and who are dealing with it. Now the other question is like, how do I know if I even have it? Like I think that's important. That's where the therapist comes in, and like they'll kind of do some types of different like connections and figure out like what symptoms you show. But for the most part, I think a lot of people know they can differentiate like winter blues than like from depression. It's really intense, and to a certain degree and surprisingly people actually, it's very rare, but it also happens in the summer. Some people actually have the opposite effect.
Too much sun makes you feel sad?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it does have some cases, very rare though.
Yeah.
So, and they might have other mental health challenges for the most part. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I feel like in the summer it might just be people suffering from FOMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting depression from FOMO and just not going out enough. But yeah, I feel like those are some good solutions. The crowd here might be able to take those home with them because I'm sure all of us have been feeling it a little bit, especially in the past couple weeks with the lack of sun. But yeah, those are some great solutions to be looking for.
Yeah.
And actually, you can check her Instagram page for the affiliate links to the sun lamps. She gets some money from that.
I'm like, the link is in my bio. Honestly, yeah. But it is on Amazon for sure. Like, I've seen it, and I've recommended it to some clients, yeah. So
Okay, perfect.
it's very accessible. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you again, Najma, for coming on. We're gonna have her coming back on
She'll be
in a
back,
few
I'm
minutes
sure.
here. Yeah. So you're coming back on, but next. So first off, are you guys having a good time? Learning a few things here. I want to make sure. I know it's great podcast. Usually podcasts, you listen to them when you're on a walk, when you're trying to like stay focused, more, be more chill vibe. So it's a little different for a live show, but we're trying to liven it up for y'all and give y'all some good information to take home with you. But yeah, Sarah, would you like to
Introduce our last guest?
Yes.
I can't see him, but
Is our guest here?
is our guest here?
He's here, yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
I can't see you, but everyone welcome Hassan Phills to the stage.
Hey, there you go. One of our oldest guests on the show. It's right there. It fell into the couch. Got it.
My bad.
He was under
The remote.
I actually looked back,
Yeah.
but he was
So-
like episode 72.
Yeah, episode 72. Welcome back
Yes,
to the
yes.
show.
Episode 72.
Yeah. It's been a lot of change for you in the past 70, we're, 156 now, so like 100 episodes.
You gotta do the
Math is good, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do the math on that.
So that was 2 years ago, I think now.
Was it 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years, I guess.
God, wow.
Back then, you were shaking it. I remember that from
I'm
the
still shaking. Look at my eyes, man.
He just came from a live show right now, right?
Yeah.
So, this guy's still working hard out here. It hasn't stopped in the past 2 years.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, we kind of just want to like bring everybody up to speed on your journey. So when you first started, I think it was 2 years ago.
No, more than 2 years ago now.
Oh, no.
How long have you been doing comedy for?
I've been doing stand-up comedies since 2018.
2018.
18, yeah. So before the pandemic, so...
And I think we mentioned after pandemic. So you're already like full on into comedy by then. But then you had a drive to kind of start making your own shows. You can explain why you had that initially.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started, for those of you who don't know, my name is Hassan Phills. I don't know why I was doing that, but yeah, I started stand-up comedy when I was in 2018, and that was like it was like I guess a transition period for me from like I was transitioning from being a student athlete and having like a constant regimen and also comfortability of like being in school, living off OSAP, you know what I mean? Yeah, the first time I saw a comma in my bank account was OSAP. And they're never getting that shit back. Anyways, reapply. But anyways, yeah, I was doing that. And as I was like transitioning from like basketball, school, work, life, friends, family, all of it, and I was doing everything just pretty much half-assed. Like, I wasn't seeing the success that I thought I would in any of these things that I had in my head, and I think that was kind of like killing me inside. Yeah. And so eventually, I just started just neutralizing the things that like it was slowly, basketball nipped the bud, basketball, school. Jobs that didn't elevate my experience for what I wanted to do later on in the future, and family, even friends, whatever it may be. Not in like a bad way to be like, oh, like I don't grow with my family. I don't want you guys think like
No.
I'm me and my family. Alhamdulillah, we're good, and they're very proud. Like I think like especially, and this is what I think is really cool about like the East African community, because when I talk to like other Muslims or like Desis and like Arabs, whenever they think like, oh, Hassan, you do stand-up comedy, your parents, like, are they okay with it? I said, yeah, my mom's my biggest fan. She rates it to the fullest. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know what I mean? But like, where's but you're not a lawyer, doctor, engineer. My mom saw my grades from a big... She knew from time that I wasn't going to be any of those things. So we got to nip it, but you got to set the tone straight.
So once basketball didn't work out, she's like,
100%. My mom knew my limitations was setting up the VCR and the DVD. After the red, the yellow, and the white cable was disappeared, engineering was out of the room. You know what I mean?
Straight HDMI.
And so, yeah, I think it was just like a matter of just like building a foundation on solid ground. But that even takes like a while because even cement starts off soft,
Hardcore.
Oh wow! Okay.
Quotables, man, quotables. And so that's how I was like, okay, let me try that part and that part. That part sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's like the foundational part.
Yeah.
The foundational part sucks because then you're just shaking ass, like figuratively and maybe and probably physically, man. It sucks, because you're like, is this gonna happen? People are looking at you like, is this what you're really on? And then, but because you have it in your head, you have to be crazy.
Yeah, as long as you're consistent, honestly.
But what motivated you? Have you ever had a comedy show where you bombed it and you're like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this anymore?
He's never bombed.
Wow.
No. I've definitely. I want to say bomb. Bomb is like you just have to switch the language up, man. I just think of it as turbulence,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to put it.
Switch the language up, man. I think, the English language is whatever, man. It's just turbulence, you grab the thing, so then, everything's good, okay,
Yeah.
I'll take my seatbelt off. You know, and that's what there's definitely been turbulence, but you just like, whether it be, there's so much more bombing in like life that's outside of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you ever get fired? That shit sucks.
That's true.
Actually, no, it's actually pretty lit. They give you a severance package. Then you're like, yeah, I'm out of here. You can pay me, you know?
Yeah.
But other things in life, everything, I think like my focus very early on in like, again, when I was starting, and then up until even when I moved back to Toronto in like
22 or 21,
21, it was like, it was the foundational times, like how I was thinking about like, what do I want to get out of comedy? What kind of person do I want to be? Who am I? All these like introspective questions. Be like, oh, okay, like, what do you hope to gain? Like, do you want to? I remember one comic, his name's Keith Pedro. We were driving to a gig out in like Burlington, and he's like an established comedian as well, like a classified pro in Canadian comedy at this time. Right now, he's like touring across like North America and Canada and the US and soon to be abroad. But at this time, him and I were in this foundational period as well together. But he's just a little bit more further ahead of me. He's also been around my long. He's like, listen, you got to figure out exactly what you want from comedy. Do you want to make money? And that's an idiot thing, because it's not a great. Nobody says, I want to get rich, let me do comedy. You know what I mean? But you want to make money? Do you want to have fun? Do you want to have impact? Like, do you want to one of those things? What are those things that you want to do? And for him, he was like, I want to make money, because he's Filipino, so he has
kids,
bare kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I need that shit, and I don't want to do a corporate job. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out a way where I can shake ass and enjoy it. And figurative. You know what I mean? But basically. And so I thought about like what I want to do for myself, and in my mind, and I'm crazy. I'm definitely not okay up in the head. In my mind, I think like I'm a why not kind of guy. Why can't I achieve all three of those things?
But those people do the best things, right? Like, they create the best things.
100%.
And that was actually your next thing, was you started doing something that you don't see in the comedy realm, which is you started like hosting your own events. Straight up, like you would rent out a whole place. And that's actually where we first saw you. One of your first shows.
Here, actually.
It was in this spot?
No, not in this spot specifically. I forget where.
I've done it here, man. I'll do a show anywhere.
You've done a few more than that.
I've done a show in a closet. I've done a show in a church. Anyone that remember that EDM, one of the second ones I did, we did it in Regent Park in Sackville.
Second
the Bulgarian church, man. Niggas were doing tutoring in there.
Was that the day
at 4 p.m. and then it turned into a bare people just for a comedy show.
Was that the snowstorm?
No.
Oh, that's a different one.
That was they're talking about a turbulent situation right there. So a turbulent situation I had was about, I guess, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. In my mind, 2 years ago, I was like, I had an hour's worth of material. And in my head, I was like, I deserve a special. I have an hour's worth of material. There's no beginning, middle, and end to it. It was just like, I'm gonna tell jokes for 60 minutes. Niggas gonna laugh. I'm gonna throw this up online, and we're up. You know what I mean?
Andrew Schultz method. Andrew Schultz method.
Andrew Schultz method. This is what I'm thinking. Or like even just whatever. You just pre it. And I was like, and I hired my boys' production company. We did 4 shows. 200 people showed up per show. So what the math on that is like 800 people flipping. We rented, and like this production company got red cameras, expensive ones, the mod thing, And then, what if I tell you 4 shows, they didn't record the audio at all. You know what I mean? So right now I'm sitting on an a cappella special. You know what I mean? There's nothing. And what do I do in that moment? In that moment, I'm like, first I'm bummy, because I'm out of a lot of money on my own thing, and 2, he's like, nah, then you laugh, like, well, Halas, it wasn't meant to be.
Make a joke out of it.
It's a joke thing. I have an acapella, but that's hilarious to me. You know what I mean? And then you just pivot and you prosper. And then actually at that time too, I was gonna do a special for the sake of just doing a special. But then a couple months later, as I was dealing with this turbulence, I realized that wasn't even like when I taken the material that I was doing at that time, it wasn't like a body of work. You know, it was just like I was letting off. You know, if you listen to like an album and it's just there's no continuity in it. It's just like, oh,
Any
this
future
way.
album.
Yeah, it's just like I don't even know. Oh, and it's just like there's no rhyme or reason to it. It was just like, wow. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I have the opportunity to switch that up. And the following years, I said, let me just figure out how to instill like a method into this, like a story, and how could I bring other tales to life.
Do you think it was a blessing then? That
yeah, for sure, 100%.
Because like now you can look back and be like, you know, maybe it's not a good thing I didn't put that out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I still have it. I look at it. But that's the beauty of comedy too. Is like you watch a video and you think, yo, that is the sickest thing ever. You watch a video yourself and you're like, oh, this is sick, and then maybe you 2 weeks later, a month later, like, oh, this what
shows you're growing though. That's
this is not it, man. It got way better already. Yeah. You know, I give it one more month. Like this joke that I really like now, I'm gonna love it later. If I take care of it the right way. Yeah. You know, I could find like another tag or another joke and just like, yeah, it's art. It's art, and I think like if you approach art in a way that's different than content, I think everybody like. Capitalism sucks, man. Well, everyone, content? You need content? Like Gary Vee or whatever the shit. It's bullshit, man. Just if you focus on building like art or something that you care about, because if you the
quality.
Yeah. If I don't care about it, why the fuck would you care about it? You know? Yeah.
And then moving forward from there, I think the next time we saw you was it Hassan Minaj? You did an open for his show, and we went the night before you, but we didn't see the next night. But that was like your next.
Was it Hassan Minaj?
Was not Hassan? Oh no, it was the other guy that looks like. Is that racist? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I'm sorry.
You're talking about Nimish Patel.
Yes, Nimish Patel.
Close enough.
Same but different. One's Hindu, one's Hamdulillah. You know.
My bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was opening for Nimish Patel.
Yes.
So for you guys to understand a bit more of like what my journey is like in that process is, and even my character, I am like CEO of like show up uninvited. Like I'm coming, especially if it's for comedy. Like I would go to ball runs. Everybody that knows me from my adolescence, I'm pulling up. If there's ball runs in any block, I don't care if you have ops there. I don't know you nigga. I'm freaking. I just want to poop. Let the main thing be the main thing. As long as I get to play basketball, then we're good. So. For a lot of like comedy shows and comedians, even myself, like even the show that I'm coming from now, like I know those guys there, but I don't really like they like I don't really care to bop with comedians per se, because I know the main thing for me is like the mic, the stage, and there's like the things I get to say and to people, obviously, right? So what I would do is I would, in the very early in my like career, and I wouldn't even say it was a career at the beginning, because you know when you start any like entrepreneur path or like thing, and you tell people that, oh, this is what I do. The first thing that I noticed when I was doing stand up, and I was working like I was doing security, I was doing retail, I was doing a bunch of odd jobs, and I tell, oh, like what else do you do? And I was trying to practice like in my mind. I was like, I should tell people I'm a stand up comedian. I am a stand up comedian. You know what I mean? I'll tell people, I'm a stand up comedian. Oh, so do you perform at like Yuck Yucks or like the Comedy Mix? And these are like establishments, like comedy clubs and the thing. I said, no, I don't, but I still am a comedian. Then they'll look at you, oh, so you're not really a comedian. And that's when I realized, and this brings us to what you were bringing up earlier. This is when I realized my name has to have more value than the establishment forever. You know? It doesn't matter where, we could do a show in a shoebox. We're gonna have a good time if Hassan Phills is there. That's what in my mind I was thinking, you know? And so when I moved back to Toronto, and mind you, in Vancouver is where I was like honing my skills for like, I guess like 3 years.
Yeah, 3-4 years.
For 3-4 years, I'm just in the cut, kind of just doing it on the lows. If you saw me I would never tell people where I was doing stand-up comedy, but you would see I wouldn't tell them where I was, but I'd show them after, you know, because in my mind I was like, yo, I need to make, if I really want to be good at this, I know the job of a stand-up comedian is to make strangers laugh. If I just invite all my friends, then I'll be shaking ass, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so I was just in the cut for mad long, and then when I came back to Toronto, I was doing shows, I'm posting stories, and people were telling me, "Oh, Phils, I want to come see you. What's going on? Where the show's at?" And so I've never produced a show in my life, you know, and it's a scary thing to like kind of like put yourself out there. So like even like applause to you guys to be like, yo, listen, we're gonna do a live thing. If people want to come, here's the ticket link. Come through, support, boom, bam, boom. That is a risky thing to do. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are afraid of that. And so, and as am I, you know, to figure that again, this is something you care about, and you're saying, yo, people come care about this with me too. Boom. So now, again, this is me in my turbulent phase of being afraid to do that. So I'm sharing every show that I'm on, because I don't know how to produce a show at this moment. Every show that I'm on, I'm looking at what they're doing. What do I like about how they're producing? What's the atmosphere? What's the thing? But at the same time, I'm sharing the flyers that I'm on. My name is on the flyers, like maybe my little name here, or like a 1-2 picture. But as you guys know, comedy is done in like traditionally pubs, lounges, nightclubs, whatever it may be, dingy places, you know what I mean? But I flick it up on the story, and Toronto sisters are pulling up to the bars, and they have no idea. They didn't even check the address, you know? They just came to support me. Brothers are there as well, and it's like, and I'm only doing like 5 or 10 minutes. They're not putting any money in my pocket. But even at that time too, I'm not even. First 4 years in comedy, I didn't even care. I didn't care about money. I still don't even like. It's not that deep to me. It's a matter of I knew the value of opportunity. Value of opportunity is like way more important than a dollar sign, to be honest, because what you can make from it is bigger. Anyway,
we've seen that recently.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So and I'm rambling, so I don't know if you guys still have everybody's attention.
Hey, let's sit here. No one's got nothing.
And so, and then after these shows, I was getting messages from people in like the Muslim community and just people in general that wanted to see more. They were saying like, "Oh, listen, I want to come see you perform more, but like these places aren't for me." You know what I mean? And then other people say, "Yo, I want to see you do more time. You know, you only got 10 minutes there." I'm like, "Oh, I can't tell. I'm not to them. The people that are booking me, the people that are they don't think I'm a headliner." And at that time, honestly, I'm not a headliner. I'm not. At that time, and I knew it. But I was also thinking like, how do I become a headliner? Because in Canada, there's no infrastructure for you to actually become like a real comedian, like what they're doing in America. So in my mind, I was like, okay, so the only way that what I got to do, people want to see me do more time. I need to learn how to do more time, but these people aren't giving me more time. I need a space to do that, but also to get this space, you need money. You know, I'm looking at these venues I'm looking for venues to book. I'm like, how much is it I'm emailing them. I'm pretending to be some like white guy that's my manager. You know those ones? They're like, oh, like I'm representing Hassan Phills as Connor Morgan or some shit like that. And they're hitting me with crazy quotes like, the only way you're gonna book this venue is if we give it to you on a Monday. You know, and you have to pay 2 racks. And then they have to, your audience has to spend at least $2,500 on drinks.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, damn. Like, imagine
what you're trying to avoid.
And that's exactly what I'm trying. Me, and I have no inclinations to make money off of alcohol. That's not even my barcode. So that's a shaky one. Imagine I invite beer people. I say, yo, make sure order that rum and coke or whatever. Just dash away the rum or some shit, Say the idiot thing. So I'm like, okay, and also like 2 racks, that's like way out of my budget, I'm like, flip, man. So what do I do? I'm booking studios, like photography studios. I'm connected with people to make shit happen. And those of you who know me, like I'm not shy to neglect to do the nitty gritty stuff. I'll set up all the chairs. I'll build the stage. I'll get a rental truck. You know what I mean? One day I built a set wall. I didn't even know. Well, I watched a YouTube tutorial 4 times, and when I say 4 times, I only watched like 30 seconds of it, and I thought like I'm a man, I can figure this shit out. It's my ego.
See how it looks together.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's the end. Yeah, man, that's bullshit. You know, and it's the journey wasn't just in trying them things. So basically, I took that formula, and alhamdulillah, like, and it worked out. I've been able to do this thing, not only this same format, not only here in Toronto. I've done it in other parts of Canada, every major city in Canada I've done.
Outside of Canada now too.
Outside of Canada, I've touched the other side or whatever, across the pond, Europe,
UK,
Dubai, or whatever. And yeah, man, alhamdulillah, man, it's dope. And then, I'm sorry, I talk bear, so.
Nah, you're mashallah, your journey's been crazy in the past few years, man.
Exactly. From booking your own local shows, like you've done one here. I think we've seen like a couple of them around the city.
Yeah, no, and mind you, the one that I like, even like this space, like, Omar, man, this guy, Omar, man, everything is like, life to me is like, sometimes you drop dots, and I think it's very important. Me, like I said, I'm a why not guy. I don't think rationally. There's no fun in rational thinking. Sometimes they make shit happen. I'm like, you need a rational person in your life, but it's kind of like niggas that do math. Like if you're teaching me math, I'm like, there's no plot in. when I that's why I sucked at math. There's no plot in math. 2 + 2 is 4, but I'm like, yo, who shot who? I need to know. I need to know, like, what's the storyline here? But even like Omar, man, like I've known Omar since I was like 16 years old. In my barcode days when I was just like, yo, I'm gonna pull up to your block, I'm gonna play ball. He pulled up to mine, we play ball, and then 10 years down the road, dots connect again. Obviously, we were still connecting through even in the in between, like from high school. The man came to watch me play ball in BC when I was playing in thing, and then again we link up on a thing that's like, I think the path is just kind of like it's cumulative. It's like, it all comes back to this thing, and the community is a big thing on that. So
yeah. Mashallah. And I guess one thing she was kind of leading to is that to more recent, we're able to book an actual show on Crave with the OGs, Jay and Trey. So how was that? Like, did they just hit you up and be like, yo, just come in, can you be this guy? Or did you actually have to audition for it? How did that work out?
So I definitely auditioned for it, but I knew them a bit prior.
Yeah.
But with Jay and Trey, Richards from For Y'all Entertainment, Random Order Podcast, The Office Movers, The Writers, man, these guys, I started off as a fan, like in high school, maybe probably like most of you guys. You guys were tapped in with them, and they were very, I think of them as like, we all know guys that are like this, and much like even me in comedy, we all know guys that are like this, but they're not doing what they're doing. So you feel like you're their friends, you know what I mean? And you're invested in their journey, and they care, and you care about what they care about. You know what I mean? That's dope. This office mover shit, like that's like that part of their life that they live. There's nobody on the nobody else in the world that would write a show about office movers, but because they care about it, I'd be like, oh, okay, boom. You know what I mean? And in my mind, like, I've known them now for the better part of 2 years, 2.5 years. And but I was telling them, I said like linking up with them was in my mind, even when I was like 16 or whatever, seeing them 17 do the thing, I was like, yeah, it's inevitable. I'm gonna link up with these guys. It's like
Hey, you had a vision, man. Clearly, with all the stuff that you're doing, right?
I'm crazy, man.
And I'm sure you probably had a lot to say about like who the character was, because like the guy was Muslim. You were making bear jokes similar to jokes that you make yourself in real life. So how much you have a say into like who the character was?
I had complete autonomy.
Yeah.
Did you?
But they also gave me the complete. It wasn't like, "Hey, yo, son, can you just do your thing?"
Yeah.
They were like they built the world. So when I think of office movers, it's like these guys really built the skeleton. The skeleton was there, and then with the cast, with the script, the dialogue, the production, everything. It was like, okay, now we're adding organs, and then the nervous system, and then the flesh, you know, and now it's like a body of work. And now we're pivoting. Like, it's like every line that, if you guys ever have watched Office Movers or on Crave or streamed it online like a pirate.
Yeah, make some noise for it.
It's actually really beautiful to see, because on a real note, like man, I showed up every day, I didn't know what the hell my lines were. I'm there, I'm just chilling. I was like, yo, what's my line today? I don't even know. And they were like, yo, honestly, just whatever you think you would say in this situation. They built the skeleton for me, and every line that they ended up using was a freestyle thing. Like, what it was like, oh, off the rip, I'm like reading, I'm like, like at one point, like if you guys saw the episode where I vomited or whatever.
Yeah, I was about to mention that.
The episode where I vomited, in the script, it said, in the script, I can't even remember, it said, they wrote Bismillah. Like, imagine you vomit, you go, Bismillah. I eat it again, you know what I mean? That would be crazy. Oh, man. And I said, nah, man, I don't think you want to say this, I would say that. And they were like, oh, okay, shit. Honestly, do whatever, we'll get bare takes of it, bing, bang, boom, we'll figure out what we use.
Yeah.
I said, boom. Easy. And then if they use it, they don't use it, they use it, they don't, boom. And it worked out. And they're very thoughtful, you know, even like, not just for the sake, like imagine you make, it's your TV show.
Yeah.
You've worked, this is your baby, but you're also thinking about how to lob it up to me in a way, like, first of all, my character's name is my name, which is dope. You know why they did that? They did that because they know I'm a stand-up comedian and I'm doing my grind and my Dougie Dares. They say, okay, well, if they like Hassan from the show and they want to figure out who this guy is, they can search Hassan, boom, Hassan Phills, bing, bang, boom. You know what I mean? And that's like it's like the little things, you know? And that's what I very much respect about them. And like above all, I think, and I've said this at shows, and this is like important to me, like very rarely do young black men like find something that they're good at and they take it and they run with it. And that's what I got to see with those guys from either adolescence into adulthood. Yeah. And then I myself, I try to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's clearly working. Yeah, sold out shows. Yeah. You know, second season 2 coming out.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a lot coming up, and we're here to see it, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. Sorry, have anything else to say?
I mean, I feel like the people want to know.
About what?
About yesterday. Sorry, I have to ask.
Okay, so yesterday, yes, Drake, the boy, he came to the show that I was doing, and it was very beloved. And that was, I'm not gonna lie to you, another turbulent situation. You know, I was just like, how do you maneuver this thing? Like, you're dealing with like security, timing.
So you knew this was happening beforehand, or what?
We had an idea of it. Yeah. You know, we had an idea, like, he's working, he's doing his own, he's like on his own thing, he's in album mode or whatever. And we just kind of like connected, and I shot in the dark from another friend of mine, actually an older head from my blog, Teasdale, my boy Ricky. Shout out Teasdale, yes. My boy Ricky, he was just like, yo, honestly, he's a really cool guy. Just invite him to a show one day. The man's like not doing anything. You know?
He did. I feel like he got on your timeline because he saw your Instagram post. Yeah. He posted you. Yeah. At that point, it's like, showing up at the top bubbles.
Yeah, I guess so. But no, he's actually like very tapped in. Like he's like, believe it or not, the man really cares about the city, and that's like a beautiful thing to see. Like I as well care about the city, and imagine like I don't know, like he's like, imagine doing that on a macro scale when your life is on a macro scale. And I feel like I'm on a micro scale, and I like doing the micro things. You know what I mean? I like,
hey, you're kind of moving up there.
This is a micro situation, but this is not one of those. But I'm saying these are the things that are very important. And so, he came through. He was. He enjoyed the whole show. He enjoyed the whole show. He was running late. Yeah. And I think he was moving like it was a concert. You know, he's like, yo, tell us not to go on the show. Go on to some niggas. My boy Alistair Ogden, the white guy he's a comic, but he's a white guy from Vancouver, and he's one of the sweetest guys. Great comedian as well, very talented. He was opening the show, and then first we told him, we're gonna start, just do 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then while he was on stage. I guess Drake's security was like, he's actually gonna be there in like 25 minutes. And I'm backstage with a sign that says, yo, do 20 more minutes, man.
Do a special.
You know what? Yeah, we're just recording an acapella special right now, man. So shit like that. But no, it's I think it's respectful, man. I appreciate it. To imagine.
Yeah. If people like that have eyes on you, like it means that you're going up there. You're no longer on the micro scale. You might move up to the macro scale. I'm telling you. Yeah.
So you're closing out this year with a bang. You still have another show, I believe, right?
No.
Oh, you're done for the year?
I'm done for the year. I'm done for the year.
What can we look forward to then in 2025 from you?
2025. I look forward to like, I guess from a career standpoint, I want to. I just want to build something. I want to build something, a body of work, like I told you already. I think I have a lot of like clips online. My rapport is great, but inshallah, I hope to either put together a mixtape, special, something that I could really say like, this is a body of work that I'm proud of, and I want to put it out there. And that's like also very scary for me.
Yeah.
Because that's my turbulent issue as well.
Do you have any drive to make a show?
And then make a show. 100%. I want to make a TV show one day. I want to do a bunch of things, but I think like me again, like I told you, my mind is in like 3 different places. I want to hone the skills of just like, I guess, being a little bit more rational, so I could accomplish one thing at a time, so I don't get caught up in the loop of doing what I used to do, doing bare things half-assed, you know. So imagine if I'm trying to write a TV show, I'm trying to do a special, trying to do all these things. And then at the end of the year, I accomplish none of those things, and I'll be like, oh. You know what I mean?
But we look forward to seeing it, man.
For sure, man.
Yeah, maybe in another 2 years we'll have you on again.
Another 2 years, man. Yes, but first of all, the cousin connection, big supporter, man. I love what you guys are doing, man. When I was, they called me like ass shaking premium. Remember when? Because when I don't think you ever. There was a time where my Instagram was disconnected.
Oh, remember that?
My Instagram was disabled like a few years ago. You know, back in the day when not back in the day, that's crazy, 2 years ago. Time. Like my Instagram was disabled, and I didn't like, I was like, yo, and I had shows coming up. I was like, yo, how do I get people to know? And I was trying to record something. It's me trying to, I'm like, I feel like the boy who cried special, you know? And like I was crashing events. I'm crashing out at events. I went to like, there was the art gallery event downtown or some shit.
That's where we saw you.
That's where it was.
I had my friend's mom, because my penmanship is terrible. I had my friend's mom write on a piece of cardboard. I'm recording a comedy special in Scarborough, and I went to this art event, and I'm just standing there with this cardboard like a homeless person, but just promoting the thing. And even from then, I was like, yeah, man, I think like platforming me from the early on is it feels very good. I think like this community here is like how would I say it? It's, see that silence? I like that. I know. It's like your board of directors. You know, you need a board of directors. Shout out to Sniper, man. Sniper is a big time board of directors in the back, man. You need community people to kind of let you know, like, yo, when you're doing a mod thing, you know, or when you're doing good, you know, you're part like that reassurance, you know, and like much like even like the guests that you had, like everybody, Timaj, Najma, like we've all been like a part of each other's journeys in some way, shape, or form. Like that book club, I was subliminally tapped into it too.
Yeah, I told you. It wasn't only me.
Yeah. I was like, what was that book? What was it?
Vanishing Faces?
The Vanishing Half.
Vanishing Half, that's what it is. It had a face on the cover, okay?
Yeah. I was definitely playing Mafia in there, man. Yeah, man, all of it. I'm here for it all, man. Community is a big thing. And people say that like loosely. I feel like, because now I don't kick it with these people, but you get into these rooms with a lot of these like corporate people that try to like use jargon, like, oh, you gotta scale it, you gotta build a community.
Yeah.
You know that language? You scale my ass, man. You don't even know how to
boardroom talk, huh?
Boardroom talk, but they don't know how to like that connecting with people through a phone is so hard. You know, but if you're able to do it in real life, bro, it's worth like, it's way more. It's worth
Yeah,
Way more.
definitely. Well, we're seeing that now.
Look at this IRL, man.
I know.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, look, some of you guys are a little slow. You guys are waiting for the comment section, I guess, huh?
Oh my god! But I hope you're willing to stick around. We have a little bit of game after this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I do have another show to get.
Oh shit! This guy has
Well,
another
I'm
show.
just,
okay.
I'm shaking. My life, man. I do have another show to get. I'm gonna kick it for a little bit, and then.
Oh, we have something right now.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
here right now.
Lit it.
Like we're still at the beginning of this thing. Like we.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't
Yeah.
started. You know, we're still like in the foundation era. You know, our concrete still hasn't settled yet. So, but you know, at least you guys are willing to give us a chance, and hopefully you guys will continue to see that growth and can see that progress in our content and what we choose to put out there and the stuff that we choose to cover.
And shout out to Amir for all of our amazing edits every single week. He always brings the vision to life. I'll text him some crazy idea, and he's like, "Yeah, I got it. I can do it." And then he just kills it every single time.
You know, I did it for the love of this thing and for all of y'all. Okay, so.
And thank you guys once again. Thank you to our amazing vendors, to Omar, the Half Note team.
Yeah.
We also had a sponsor for this event, so shout out to Unparalleled Beauty. She was supposed to be a vendor but couldn't make it tonight, so she sponsored a portion of it. Check out her brand. It's like a vegan, cruelty-free makeup, Somali Muslim woman-owned brand that donates part of her proceeds to marginalized communities, I believe. So it's a great cause. Amazing stuff.
That's
so
Unparalleled Beauty.
Unparalleled Beauty, exactly. And an applause for yourself once again. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This means the world to us. We are going to have a little bit of an after party, so whoever wants,
Yeah. We're still sticking around for.
you can hang out, come talk to us, don't be shy. We'll take photos together in the photo booth.
Yeah, and make sure you, of course, like if you haven't already, I know we've been here for a bit, but just check out the vendors if you haven't already. You know, grab a couple more cookies before you head out. Make sure you get some more fuegos here on the side. They haven't. They have more discounted
Hassan,
price
I have
now.
to give you something before you leave. Sorry.
But yeah, we have some more food on the side here if you want to grab some grub before you leave. But again, thank you guys for coming. We're gonna continue to try, just have a little bit more after party here. But as for the show, it's over. And
Wait, we have to film the ending.
oh yeah, stick around for a bit. We have to film something for that.
Okay, we're gonna incorporate you guys into next week's episode.
Yeah.
So can you all have your phones out with the flash?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
what we're gonna do, if you guys watch or listen to the episode, you guys know how we always start it. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cousin Connection podcast. So we're gonna film that, and then when we say the word podcast, we want you guys all to say it along with us. And then, as you know, when we end it, we do our iconic bye. So we want you guys to do that with us too. We're gonna film both.
Okay, thank you again, guys, for watching another episode of the Cousin Connection podcast. Bye.
Brushing. Teeth. One word. Oh yeah, one word. Okay. Doctor. Dentist.
No, come on. Okay, 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Blowing bubbles. That's all we need, man. That's all we need.
Wait, was it 2 words, man? What's going on?
What?
Blowing bubbles.
That's literally what it was.
See that?
Am I grabbing echo?
Brought those scars from home.
Okay, so.
Okay, one more time.
Okay.
Easy as pie.
Not even?
I got nothing.
What do you think she said?
What are you doing after this? I don't know.
It was 3 words.
I don't know.
Okay, she'll do gestures. She'll do gestures to help you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, easy as pie. Pie, like a
Do I like apple pie?
Okay. He's got 1 word.
Okay.
easy.
Oh, okay, I got you. Easy as pie.
Yay!
Okay. Is that a point for me?
I mean, she
I don't know if we
basically.
should give you the point. We are giving gestures and everything.
I know.
Yeah.